We'll record to the computer. And if you see me looking up, it's not that I'm ignoring, it's the other screen I have up here. All right, so let's play a little bit of music, see if this works.
Soundstripe. Soundstripe.
All right, all right, all right. Welcome to Success Paradigms. We're here today with Miss Jennifer Loehding. I
Yeah,
always
well,
I always butcher your name, but
I just think of the
uh,
long, you'll be good.
okay. So my name is Emilio Garcia, and with me, as always, is my co-host Andrew Barker, the
Happy to be
Gringo.
here. Happy
And
Monday.
we'll leave it at the Gringo. Uh, anyway, Andrew, I think you've met Jennifer. She's come to a couple of your events, but I don't know how
Yeah,
much
we've
you
met a
know
few
about her.
times.
But I can tell you this is going to be a fun one.
Good.
And if I remember correctly, she'll take the microphone and just go. We might just be here
We'll
sitting.
just coast.
Yeah, no, but she's got a real interesting story, so we're gonna get onto it and just roll as we go. So, Jennifer, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from. I know you've had a lot of issues in the health and the running and the book and all that stuff, and we'll get to all of that in due time. But let's start from the early stages. Are you from Texas originally? Where are you from?
I am. I'm originally from Houston. So, yeah, born and raised
We
Texan.
will not hold that against you. Born and raised Texan, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I moved here. I was born in the Houston area. And then in 2004, my husband is a chemical engineer, worked for a company that was their home. The big office is up in the Midwest. And then they had a branch that he was at in the Sugarland area or Stafford area, which they're very close to each, south of Houston. But then
Right.
2004, he transferred. And so we uprooted the family. My youngest was about 2 months old when we moved to Dallas. And so my kids have pretty much been Dallas, whatever we call them here, Dallas people, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what the term is.
I don't know
Well,
I mean, like Houston or Houstonians. I don't know what Dallas people are. So
Big D-Asians,
yeah, something like that maybe.
Dalatians,
Yes.
something like that. Very cool. I didn't know your husband was a chemical engineer. My dad's a chemical engineer.
Yeah. He complete opposite of me. So, I yin and yang, I talk all the time. He's a dude of few words, never talks. So
Right. Well,
I fill in all the gaps.
a word of advice to your kids, never come home with a question of chemistry. Holy crap.
Right. Well,
I just want the short answer, not the lecture.
hey, no kidding. But interestingly enough, my two oldest studied chemistry. So I don't know. The middle one's doing forensics right now. She's taking organic chemistry. I just stay out of the conversation. Like I just not there.
Damn. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's too smart for my blood.
Yeah. Mine
Anyway,
too.
so you were basically until you were married, you were still in Houston, high school
Yeah.
and everything.
Yeah, I grew up there, went to school there, went to college and went to junior college there and then transferred out to Sam Houston State before I went I actually started out, believe it or not, this is a crazy story. Back in the 80s, my mom they were called executive suites. I think of them now sort of like these co-op sharing spaces, but back then they had secretaries that were in the office and they would do the typing and answer the switchboard. They did all the stuff that now you get these virtual assistants to do. And my mom had these executive suites. So I grew up in an entrepreneurial home. My parents were both entrepreneurs from the time, I was little on. And my mom had these suites. So I actually started working for an insurance company when I was in middle school before we had internet. Like I used to file papers in a filing cabinet. And then when I went to high school, I stayed working for that agent and all through college. And so I actually thought I was going to go into insurance because I figured, I'm either going to be, my mom was an accountant, so I'm either going to go be a CPA or I'm going to work in the insurance field. Ended up not doing either one of those. So, but that was kind of my start in like being, in the workforce and kind of getting the experience of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I definitely don't recommend CPAs. They're boring.
Well,
not that insurance people are a lot of fun.
Yeah, they're about the same, but I will say I got to tax law in college. Like I got to the tax law part, and I'm like, okay, forget it. I'm done. Check out. I'm just not going there.
Oh, you can jump in, Andrew. Defend yourself. Okay, moving on.
You got to think about it. He's going to come back and get me.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, listen, I think those of us that break the stereotypes, I don't know what we're supposed to say, because in a way we sort of prove the stereotype is fairly accurate by breaking it. So I won't incriminate anyone.
Yeah, that's the elegant way of saying pass. You got to see, that's what I love. You're always politically correct.
Thank you.
I'm not. So beware.
So it works.
Anyway, all right. So tell us a little bit more. So you went to college down there. What did you study?
I started out in accounting. That's where I was. And then I ended up moving into marketing and then got married. And I actually worked for several insurance companies while I was at college, and then ended up deciding, I got pregnant and decided I was going to be a mom, and went to be a stay-at-home mom and did that for a while, and recognized that just wasn't my thing. I love my kids, and I will say this, none of my kids have ever had to go into a daycare their entire life, but I did the whole mom thing for a while and recognized that I'm not good at that. I'm not good at staying home and doing nothing. I got to be doing something. And so that's kind of how I entered into the network marketing space. I actually taught aerobics for years. I started teaching in 97 back when, if you remember, I don't know if you guys remember Bally Total Fitness when they were big. Yeah. Okay, that's where I took my for aerobics, and I taught with them, and I taught through 2 pregnancies there. In fact, I joke about this because I was about 2 weeks. I taught up until the last 2 weeks. I was pregnant with both my last 2 kids. So it was a pretty interesting sight. Showing up and we're doing jumping jacks and push-ups, and I'm like, about to have
and people are trying to catch.
Yeah, they're like, please don't have the baby on the floor, and I'm like, no, we got this, we're good. And so, yeah, I started out in that, and then moved into network marketing kind of simultaneously, and thought I was going to be doing that, forever and a day. And that's kind of where everything just sort of kind of went its way, and then ended up going in different directions. So life just has a way of going in all different directions. That's what I tell everybody. Nothing's ever linear. It just kind of moves all around. Some of us get in and they do the same thing. Me, it's like I've had all these things that have they've all overlapped each other, and they all kind of have similar purposes that go with them, but they're just a little bit different in what they are and how the message comes out.
Right. Well, the only constant is change, right? Who was it that said that?
I don't know.
That's a chemistry question. No chemistry questions, you said. That's
not chemistry. The only constant is change.
It's physics.
Yeah, he goes into constants and whatnot. He's already figuring out formulas.
I love it.
Yeah, this was simpler than that. Anyway, I know someone famous said that. I'm not smart enough to create something like that. I probably copied it from someone. So anyway, so you had a long stint on network marketing, right? With a pink car company. We're not gonna.
Yeah.
We're trying to be politically correct. Well, not politically correct. Just anyway.
Yeah, you say pink car, everybody knows what that is. So yeah, no, I started. Again, I was telling somebody, I just got off the phone a few minutes ago, and I was coaching someone, and I was talking about how I came into Mary Kay because I liked the idea.
Oh, the pink car. Come on.
The pink car.
I'm trying to behave and.
It's okay. We can talk.
Blur it out there.
I love the company. I love their mission. I love everything that Mary Kay Ash has done. I mean, and I tell everybody all the time that, all the years that I've been in that company, there are so many life lessons I learned in there. I mean, so many. I've been fortunately blessed that I've had incredible mentors for 20 years. Like I have had people in my space that have been there and believed in me and in those times when I didn't believe in myself. So I've been very fortunate. I have nothing negative to say about it. It taught me a lot. But when I went into that space, I really went into it because I liked the idea of being an entrepreneur. I liked the idea of having autonomy and freedom and just being able to do my own thing, you know, and I didn't really know what better way, if you want to own a business, to go into network marketing. They tell you how to do everything. They tell you what to say, how to show up, what to sell, everything. And so for me, it was a no-brainer because I could go in there, you know, I was in my, you know, I think I was in my late 20s at the time. And so I was kind of in that space where I was here, I'm this mom, I've got this little 2-year-old toddler. I need something I can work around my family. It'll go in with my aerobics. I have this freedom. But here's the thing, I wasn't sold on the product. And I don't mean the product being bad. Makeup's just like, I put it on, I like makeup, but I'm not going to get excited over a lipstick. Like I don't wake up every day and be like, I got this red lipstick, like today is a great day, you know, like that just wasn't doing it for me. And so for years, you know, I went up in that company, I earned 5 cars while I was there. I did very, very well in there, but I always felt like I was kind of swimming, you know, upstream all the time because I'd have this success and I'd get there and then I'd be like, I got to keep maintaining this. And there were things that just didn't really align with who I was. And so I was wrestling with this all the time. And so I did that. And then in 2009, what are we at? I'm trying to think. No, 2012. I'm like, I lost track of time. I was diagnosed with this rare
Oh, it's
nerve.
COVID.
I know.
Everyone's lost track of time.
I'm like, what year are we on? 2000, what year? So in 2012, then I was diagnosed with this rare nerve condition that just really kind of set the whole, like a new trajectory for me. Like it outlined a whole new life that I had no idea at the time was going to do that, because it just stopped me dead in my tracks and kind of forced me to navigate a different direction.
And it's one of the amazing things. Every time we talk and we've met and we've gone to different events, I would have never known that until I read your book.
Mm-hmm.
And then I turned the page, I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
That the same person? Yeah. So kudos to you on that one. Congratulations.
What's the name of your book? I'm probably getting ahead of us here, but what's the name of your book?
It's Beat the Toughest Obstacles. It's on Amazon, pretty simple. It's an easy read.
Yeah, it's a good one. You'll enjoy it.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's fascinating. Tell us a little bit more about, you had that disease and you found that your cure was running. Because you mentioned a lot of different things that you tried.
Yeah, it was a lot of things. So I was diagnosed with it, and if you read the book, you know this. I was diagnosed with a rare nerve condition called atypical trigeminal neuralgia. So it basically
I won't remember that.
You won't. Just say TN. Just TN. It's easy. But it affects the nerves in the left side of my face. And the weird thing about atypical TN is that people who have a regular case of it can go in, have an MRI done. They will find a compressed nerve somewhere between either in the jaw or in the back. It starts in the back of the neck and it branches through, you know, right here, here, and here. So for people who have this, things like eating, drinking, putting your makeup on, cold air, vibrating, sitting in a concert and having vibration, any of these things can trigger this nerve pain. And the way I tell people is like I can't even describe the pain, because it's the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. Like I broke bones. I have run long races. I've had kids. I've had migraines. Like I have never felt anything to this kind of magnitude of pain. And mine was an atypical case, meaning they didn't have anything to go on. Like an MRI didn't show anything. They basically just went off the symptoms that I was telling them. And so with that being that way, there's no treatment for it. So what do? They put you on tons of medication. So I was on opiates, I was on benzos, I was on muscle relaxers, anti-seizures. In fact, there was a day I went into the doctor's office and she was prescribing me benzos and I was on opiates at the time. And I remember asking her, like, can I take all this? Am I going to wake up tomorrow? Like, is this safe for me to do this? And so there was a lot of stuff going on. And as you can tell, I like to be in control. There were a lot of things that were out of my control. I could not do anything. And so when 4 years went by and I wasn't getting any answers and I had gone through all these treatments, I mean, I had steroid injections in my jaw, I had TMJ treatment, I'd done acupuncture, I'd done all these things. I really had to make a decision. And I was in a very bad place. And I tell everybody this, I was on this place of suicide. Like I was at this place where I was either going to end it or fix it. Like that's where I was. And so I just made a decision. I came out of the doctor's office and I just made a decision that I was going to do something. I was going to figure this out one way or the other. And I went to work. And so, yes, running was a piece of it. I had been exercising before that, but I had picked up running during that time. And really, you know, I say we all have our vices. When we're going through pain, we figure out ways to survive, right? And that was my vice. I couldn't drink. I was on opiates, right? So what am I going to do? I'm going to run. So I would go run for sometimes 4 or 5 hours because it would basically move that pain into a different direction. But that was a piece of it. I mean, I did a ketogenic diet for 22 months. That was a big piece of it. I did meditation. I mean, I really did a lot of different things, but I tell everybody, I think the biggest thing that helped me succeed was my decision to succeed. It was my decision to say that I'm not going to let the disease take me out. I made that decision to get out of that. So, because, you know, health is one of those things. I mean, I could have easily said, I'm going to go run, but every day I got up, I'm like, this disease is killing me. It's going to kill me. And then I'm running. You know what I mean? Like it had to be this mindset of, I'm going to get through this. It is not going to take me out. Like I'm too mean for that. It is not taking me down.
Well, the brain is powerful. Definitely
Exactly.
very, very powerful. And that's where you begin. So very, very, so through going through all of that, did you have any
Yeah.
time for hobbies, for your business, for anything, or?
Well, I stepped down from Mary Kay the month before I went on keto. So March of 2016, I stepped down from Mary Kay. I'm trying to think of the dates here. I stepped down that because that was probably one of the hardest things I had to do, because keep in mind, I'd been a leader for 15 years. So I had come to Dallas as a leader. So everybody in that space knew me in this leadership position, and I had to take that back seat. But I will tell you, it was crazy because I remember everybody always thinks I'm a quick decision maker. I do make decisions, but when they're big, I really like to think about it. So I took about 4 or 5 months to process that. And then I woke up one day and I said, today's the day I'm stepping down. And when I did, I cried about it for 24 hours. The next day, it was like the brick had come off my back, because now I was free to take care of me. I was free to put myself first and say, you know what, there's nothing more important than your health. No career, nothing. Your health has to be paramount all times, because if you have all the money in the world, but you don't have your health, what does it matter? You know, what does it matter? That sure does help, because it paid for me to get the treatments that I needed, obviously, but your health has to be paramount. So I stepped down from that, and really, you know, my days, if you've ever known anybody, and you probably read this in my book, because I talk about how I equated my condition to what somebody with cancer lives like, because somebody with cancer is probably in chronic pain every day, and they're on medication, so they're sick from all the medication. That's kind of where I was. I was in pain every day. And when I wasn't in pain, I was sick because of the medication. So I was in survival mode. I wasn't even thinking hobbies. I was thinking, am I going to get out of bed tomorrow? Am I going to make it? Because I got to do this another day, and this hurts bad. You know, like this is how it was every single day. But I will tell you, there was a moment when I was in the middle of doing keto. So it took me 11, 12 months before I was able to get all my medication. And I've had people ask me, like, how did you go that long? And I'm like, well, I didn't really see a choice. I don't know what the alternative was. Well, I was going to kill myself if I didn't get that figured out. So what's the alternative? I have to, right? But there was this moment in there where I was in the bathroom cleaning up, and I had this, like, for the split second, I felt no pain, like nothing. It was like gone. And I was like, I hadn't felt that in 4 years. And so like I had nothing. And I was like, I'm on to something. Like I'm getting chills thinking about it right now. Cause like I knew that day that what I was doing was working. Like I was making that little bit of progress. And it's kind of like in business, you know, when you have that moment where you go, something's paying off, like it's working. So I knew.
Sign.
Yes. Yes. So that was kind of my proof that what I was doing was, I was on the right path to healing myself and getting where I needed to go.
Okay. So is that when you started transitioning to doing something else, like coaching or stuff like that? Or let's take a 30-second break, and we'll be right back and chat a little bit more. This is Success Paradigms with Emilio Garcia and Mr. Andrew Barker, and we have Jennifer Loehding with us. We'll be right back. maybe.
Jennifer, it's Loehding?
Loading, yeah.
Okay.
Just think of like
Loading a truck.
loading a truck, loading
So Emilio, they're not blacklisting us for the music anymore?
I just found some free music out there.
The music matches my background.
No, you need more lights. Oh, she's dancing already.
I'm liking his
Different
back.
rhythm, but
I want to hear more about this. This is amazing.
all right, then I'll finish the music. Let's hear more about it. You're the co-host, so why not?
So at this stage, the light bulb goes off. You arrive at this place where, for a moment in time and space, you're actually without pain, and this is as you're reducing your use of all these pharmaceutical medications. So the running's part of it, and I'm sorry, I didn't even know you had written a book. I haven't read the book. But I'm sure the viewers and listeners would love to hear, in your case, what was that combination? Because it doesn't sound like it was one thing. You got the stress, you made a career change, you transformed the pain into action by running for more than what you would run for a marathon. And some other things. Can you tell us a little bit more about how your prescription or your formula to get you healthy evolved?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I do talk about this in the book, but I'll kind of walk you through this next phase. So
Don't give him everything. Let him read the book.
yeah, I will. And I'm in the process right now of creating this whole online coaching program that's all wrapped around all these things that I did, these things that I went through.
Okay.
And they've evolved. They really have evolved, because when I came out, so when I went through the health stuff, the big thing was the dietary change. It was the running, it was the meditation, it was the gratitude, it was the affirmations, it was these things that I did. But when I came out of this, so if you've ever known anybody who's had a disease, so now I had another problem. When I exited out of this, and in January of 2018, I was once again found myself in this bad place, because I had for 4 years had this crisis identifying me. It was like labeled, it was attached to me, like I was my condition, right? I was this person who had this TN. And so when I came out, it's kind of like if you've ever known anybody that runs a marathon, like they work up till the day to get to the marathon, they run the marathon, they're excited that day, and then they're kind of sad afterwards, right? Because the goal's over now, like they conquered it, they're done. So here I had come out, and I'm sitting in this place, and I can tell you exactly where I was because I was at a conference, but I had come out of this and I had conquered this demon. I had been successful in business. My kids were doing well, but I hated where I was at. Like I emotionally was in a bad place once again, because I had identified myself with this. And so this is kind of that second phase, Andrew, where I went on how I shifted into this career shift, because I recognized that I needed to heal myself. Like I needed to go in and internally heal myself, because here's the big thing. When you think about people, like I had started noticing, let me backtrack. I had started noticing that I had had a pattern of repeated crises in my life, like these crises that kept happening. This was a big one. This was a monster, but it wasn't the only crisis that I had in my life. I had had other things that had happened that I had gone through. And that's why I'm a survivor, because I know how to get through these things. Like I just pick up and I move on. But what I found is that the reason that I was having these is because there were things I hadn't healed in my life. There were things that I needed to fix about me, things I'd gone through, and I'd never gotten myself in that right place where I no longer was allowing myself to have this stuff come in anymore. So in January of 2018, I'm sitting at this conference, and it's a motivational conference for network marketing. And this speaker gets up there and she's talking about John Maxwell, which you may be familiar with, love him. And she's talking about, if you do these 5 things, do it for a year, your life will never be the same. Well, being the skeptic that I am now, think about this. I was not like I am now. So I'm sitting in this conference and I'm like, okay, what are you going to tell me that I don't already know? Like I've had 20 years of this stuff. I've been hearing this forever and it doesn't work, right? But she's like, do this, this, and this. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to start reading. I'm going to start reading because I hated to read. Like that was not my thing. If it wasn't on TV and I couldn't watch it on a movie, I wasn't going to do it. And I flip magazines backwards. Like I start from the back and go the other direction, right? Anybody been there?
See the pictures?
So,
good.
Yes, look at the pictures. So I'm like, I'm going to read. And so that was like my next big decision that I made, other than, going on this keto diet, where I said, I'm going to really work on my well-being, not just now my body's healed, but I'm going to work on my well-being. And so I started reading every single day. And to this day, I still either read or I listen to positive material every single day. And that for me was like another door that opened, because once that I started doing that, all of a sudden my brain started shifting the way I was thinking. I started becoming more open to possibility and open to meeting people and just really ideas, And so I went through several coaching programs, and then I ended up getting certified in coaching. And so while all this is going on, I'm still in network marketing, and I'm clinging to this because that's all I've known for 20 years now. Keep in mind, it's all I've known, and I'm clinging to it. But I'm over here going, but I really want to do this. I'm like, how do I do this? And so slowly, as I was doing these processes, I started going through all these things. I started building my confidence and kind of moving over to these. So all those steps, Andrew, that you're asking me about, this is what's going into my coaching program. Some of them are in my book, and they're really things that I just did that helped me survive through my disease. But then they also helped me move into what's that next step so I could have this exponential growth, because my book and my podcast came out within like 1 week of each other. Like I wrote the book in 5 months, boom, the book comes out a week later. I throw this podcast out there. And then when COVID hit, I really dove into my coaching. Like I just went full throttle into it, and that's picked up immensely. So it hasn't been an overnight thing. If I were to tell you, had this happen overnight, no, I've been working on this for 20 years. I've been since 1999 working on me.
You're one of those other overnight
Yes.
success that took 20 years in the making.
Exactly. It just caught up finally. And I figured out how to be successful. I figured out how to master techniques in my life to bring what I needed to get me to where I needed to be.
You and I need to exchange book ideas, not ideas, but recommendations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's one of the things I started doing a long time ago, reading or audiobooks. And
Yeah.
I gotta admit, since I did drive to Houston every week for 3 years, I got a lot of books done in there.
Yeah.
Audiobook was, and
Yeah.
I got to the point that I listen at 1.5 speed at least. So they got faster. Now that I'm home office, I'm like, I gotta go to post office or something just to get a little bit of an audiobook in there. But I'd love to get some time later on and just discuss a couple of ideas and books, because
Absolutely.
that's been something that I've been doing for a while now.
Yeah, and maybe guys, after the show, the next day or two, post them on the social media.
Yeah.
I'm sure, including myself, a lot of viewers and listeners will be
Yeah,
curious.
there's a ton of books. I mean, I'm reading right now while listening, and the language is out there. It's Kevin Hart. It's his story, and it says I can't make this up. And there's a lot of life lessons, but the language and it's Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
I'm laughing as much as I'm learning. I think maybe even more. But that one does have the F-bomb every other word, pretty much.
It's all good. If you're thinking, that's all that matters, right?
Some people do. Some people are like offended. Personally, I'm not. My background in Mexico, we're okay, but my family's from Spain, so they're actually pretty rough around the edges, I guess. And the language is not insulting, but they use the words. So my wife will always, when we started dating, she's like, "How are you talking to your mom like that?" I'm like what? She talks to me the same way. It's like, so anyway.
Great. Love it.
All right, so let's talk a little bit more about what you're doing now, which we already got into, the coaching side of it.
Right.
What's next? What's your coming adventure besides the coaching program that you said you were in some kind of contest to go on the virtual coaching thing, right?
Yeah, that's
something virtual.
Yeah, that's kind of exciting. That's what I said. I feel like the floodgates open, like you're open to things sort of come into place. I always feel like the people arrive when they need to arrive. And so I had an opportunity, I submitted. It's kind of funny because I've submitted so many things for a lot of different things and I don't really say a lot because I know they're not something, I put it out there and I'm like, if I get it, I don't, whatever. And I don't know if I will with this or not, but this kind of came into my lap. It was something that crossed my path, and it was for a reality show for a coach. And they're basically going to help the coach launch their business, which I've launched mine, but I haven't done like an official launch, and they pay for like the ad spends and everything. So it's like they're going to teach you how to put it out there, because everything for what we're doing is kind of moving online these days. I mean, that's where we're at. All this stuff is out there, and that's why we have so much social media presence. And so I submitted to this, and there were like 400 applicants, and I think they picked like 100, and then they're going to narrow it down to like 3. So I was in the top 100. It was so funny because they told us to submit a video in, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I have so many videos out there. Like, just go to my YouTube page. You can see anything you want to see. I'm all over that. So I didn't even submit a video in, and the email came in, and I was like, yes, yes. So I had to do another 2-minute video for real and send it in, but I was smart because I attached it to my podcast page. So now they have to go look at all my podcasts when they get it. So that's one of the things I'm working on. And then, yes, I'm working on the coaching program. And yeah, I've just got several different things. We're working on an event, hopefully in January, a retreat type workshop. I don't know if we're going to do it like in person at that time or if we're going to still stick with the online, but I'm working with a friend, Brianna Reyes. She was a top 100 American Idol finalist season 4 when Carrie Underwood was on. So she's one of my good friends, phenomenal lady. And so we're kind of pairing up to do something. So really just, I get excited when I hear ideas, when people come to me with things. I'm like, I'm all ears. What do you got going on? So I'm open all the time to listening to things, but really right now I've just been focusing a lot on building my podcast and meeting new people, and wherever opportunity arises, if it fits in alignment with my core values, then I add it on.
That's cool.
What's the name of your podcast, and what kind of people do you interview? Or
Not you. You're not going to make it. We're not in there.
You're getting way ahead of me.
No.
I'm actually thinking not only selfishly, before again.
No, reason being is more women's side. We're getting my wife in there. We should get your wife, Andrew. No,
yes,
no kidding.
I do have
She
I just interviewed a VP for a title company. I do get men in theirs, and I honestly like interviewing men because I think they bring a lot of different value to the podcast. We don't get as much emotion.
Okay, then change the schedule for my wife. I'll go. I'll take her place. No, kidding.
But the name of the show is Starter Girls with the Z, and I always say Z because we like to be a little bit different. If you put S, I wouldn't be different. So it's Starter Girls, and it's an empowerment, motivation, inspirational podcast all about mindset and success. So what I always tell everybody, that it's really, for me, it's about showing my audience that ordinary people can live extraordinary lives if they're just willing to do the extraordinary. That's what I'm doing. And so I interview everybody. I mean, I've had everybody from former professional basketball players. I've had Shemaine Nugent on there. I've had reality show. I had Cass Haley on there, Brianna Reyes. And then I've had, like a VP of a title company. So I really just look for people that have had some kind of success or a story that they've had.
So it's not only people from the DFW community. It's everywhere. Yeah, it's everywhere. Shemaine Nugent isn't based here, I don't think.
No, she's I think she's in Michigan. She does have a house here because she's doing a show over at her show she records at Real News. So she does come in to do it. But I was on her, funny story with her is I messaged her to get her on my show because, when she was doing MTV Cribs, they found mold in her house. And so she's this whole health and fitness, was an aerobics instructor. So I messaged her to get her on my show. Well, then I told her my story. And so then she's like, well, you need to come on my show. So I went on hers first, and then I had to go back and get her back to come on mine. So I had to work harder because I had to get her back again.
Hey.
I mean, that's great that
you've never been afraid of work hard.
I've listened to a couple episodes, but it gives the listeners and viewers some flavor. They should definitely check it out. You've got quite a few shows now, so you just almost, if you go down the list, you're going to find a couple that you're like, okay, this sounds interesting. You get, definitely worth checking out a couple.
Yeah. The one that we have going out tomorrow is Amelia Antonetti. She is amazing. She's like one of the most sought after human behavior experts. She's
got to be amazing just with the name.
Well, she's worked with Steve Harvey, Montel Williams, Oprah. She's been on Dr. Phil. I mean, she is like phenomenal. She comes on the show and she's talking about all these celebrities. And we're like, oh, it's just another day on the podcast. We've got this lady on here who's worked with all these, famous people. And she had purchased a company, or she created a company at 17, sold it by the time she was 19. And then built like a dozen companies. And then all of a sudden she had these high profile people that were asking her, how are you doing this? Like, what are you doing? She didn't even know really. So she went out and then started helping these high profile people strategize their business. And while she was doing that, started studying people. And so then she developed this whole genius key, which is all about the human behavior. And she can tell you based on this test, like how to get wherever you want just off that test. It's incredible. So her show's going out tomorrow. It was a lot of fun. We had a nice time with her.
Yeah, we'll check it out.
That's a must, definitely. Very cool, very cool. What else, Andrew? Give us a couple
next
extra
question.
things.
So coaching has become such a broad term, right? And it can be one-on-one coaching, it can be team coaching, it can be business coaching, it can be athletic coaching. So give us a bit of flavor about who do you like to coach? Who do you like to help? Give us a little more flavor on that, please.
Sure. So right now I'm doing a lot of one-on-one coaching. And what I tell everybody, you're absolutely right. Coaching is diverse. And here's the thing, when I was kind of moving into this, and this was part of the reason I was having such a hard time going over, because I didn't know what niche to go with. Do I go with business because I've had 20 years of business and I can strategize? Do I go with health and wellness because I cured a disease and I'm a marathon runner? Like, these are all very passionate topics for me, and I have a lot of experience in both of them. So what I found is that what I really love working with people on is on the mindset. Because here's the thing, when your mindset, and you guys know this because you're entrepreneurs, right? When your mindset is strong, you can carry that over into everything, right? You can carry that into your fitness, into your health, into your relationships, into your money, everything. And so what I found is that, in all these years I was working with women, I could either teach them how to do a business or I could teach them how to have mindset. I couldn't do both at the same time, because if they didn't have the mindset, I was wasting my time trying to teach them how to do a business. Like, if I had to tell me to get out of bed, that's a problem. I can't do that. So really what I do is I do a lot of one-on-one coaching. I just picked up a client right before I jumped on with you guys. I was talking and was super excited about. And what I do is I take those basically 7 steps that I pulled together. They're not rocket science. They're what worked for me to help me do what I needed to do. And I coach them on those 7 steps. And it's usually anywhere from, 6 to 10 week period that I need to do this, depending on if they do it. If they take the information and they run and they go, then they're going to be fine. So a lot of times it's not that easy. I got to work through stuff. It's like therapy. I got to keep going through stuff with them, and we have to go over again. Why do we got to go do this? So really for me, it's about teaching people how to strengthen their self-belief by getting rock solid mindset. And the way I do that is really helping them work around sabotaging behaviors, which are all coming from the thoughts that are in our heads. So it's all overlapping, and I'm really just working with them by teaching them tools on how to sneak around those sabotaging behaviors, and they can win.
Nice.
And do you do a kind of a follow-up a few months later or something, or it's?
So
I'm just curious because
I
know a lot of people through our careers that you go through all of that and then you come back 3 months later and it's like, dude, what? You were doing great. You're back to square one.
Right. And funny thing, I'm coaching a guy right now. I'm on my, oh my gosh, we did 10, 20. I've been coaching him since March. And he was a young guy that's created a vitamin company in California, sold it right before the pandemic, made a lot of money doing it. And then he got kind of in this like, okay, what am I going to do now? Because I got all this money. I sold my company, but now we're in this pandemic, and he was creating something else, couldn't do it because of the FDA. So he's like in limbo. And yes. And so what I found with him, we were coaching a lot right away. And then we took a little bit of a breather, and then we had to pick it back up again. So I don't always, I don't necessarily have to follow back up with them. I probably will with most of my people just because that's who I am. That when I have a client, I did this even when I was in network marketing, when I have a client, you know, I want to keep a client because what I know about coaching is that's kind of an ongoing thing. Even I get coaches. Everybody that is doing great things gets coaches at some point or another, most people, right? And so, yes, I like to keep that door open because if they do have a situation where they're doing really well and they fall off, we know we all do at times, right? Then they can come back if they want to. But what I hope is that when I'm done with them, I've taught them these tools so that it really would be a matter of me just saying, hey, you know your tools, you know what you need to do. You got control of this. It's all about you getting control. I mean, that's where the growth comes, is when we pick back up, right? When we say, I know what I need to do. I'm in control of my mind. You know, it's all.
Well, that's the funny thing when you say control of your mind. I did take coaching a few years ago, and some of the studies say that even though your day is, or your life is 80% good, 20% wrong or bad, your mind focuses on that 20% wrong or bad 80% of the time.
Right.
So you might have a little issue and a lot of good things, but your mind automatically, human being, is going to focus on that little issue. And that's where you've got to, that's where I think the training and the follow-up and the keep doing it is to say, yes, that's a little thing, but I got this whole bunch of other stuff. I got to focus on that, not on the little brainy thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the mind is a powerful thing. And, you know, I always say that I feel like I'm in a place now. I mean, I was a victim, and going back to that conversation we had earlier about things that I hadn't healed, you know, and so a lot of the stuff is stuff that you happens when you're a kid, you know, things that have happened to you that you kind of harbor, you don't ever really get out. And so for me, a lot of that, these things that kept playing out were about healing myself. And what's really neat is, you know, for a long time, I was a victim of my emotions. I mean, for a long time, I would talk about this. I'd get up in the morning and I would say, I'm in a funk, and that thing would go on sometimes for days and days and days. Right now, it's really neat because I've trained myself to recognize that. I'm extremely mindful of it. So I know I don't wake up every day cheerful. Okay. You know, for the most part, I get up in the morning, I get myself going, I'm ready to roll. Like, I'm moving, I've got this day, we're going. But everything's not peachy keen every single day. You know, the dog tears the pillow up in my room, or, you know, or my son makes me mad. Something's happened, right? And I have to work around that. But the great thing that I can say about myself is that I've been able to heal myself in a way that now I know techniques. And so when I have those moments happen, I recognize it. I know how to get out of that. I know how to snap out of that pretty quickly and get myself back on track.
Cool. Hey, Andrew, did you notice that? I wish I get to that point. The fault was either the dog or the kid. It wasn't the husband. That doesn't happen in my household.
And it wasn't the technology either.
Well, you got an extra challenge. What's that?
I said those were the two things that happened the latest. That's why they came up. I remembered them. Dog did get the other day, and my son did make me mad.
Okay. That's funny. It's just different ways of happening, right?
Yeah, I mean, when those things happen,
choose the pillow here, it's because I let it in. So
that's great.
But to the point, you have to take that step back when it's something as simple as a dog in the pillow and just sort of laugh at it, right?
Right.
Especially when it becomes serious disease.
Yeah.
Still finding the dog making a mess, but.
And that's one thing that and I will talk to you, Jennifer, because my wife's taking a coaching right now with a lady that she's really good. I listened to 2 of the sessions and I was amazed, and she's doing it in Spanish. As you know, she just sort of became an entrepreneur, but she's still a teacher. So whenever there's an issue, it's like the world is ending. I'm like, okay, is it something you can control? No. Then just chill and go with something else. Worrying about it, bitching about it, it's not going to do anything. So let's focus the energy on the other side. So, and we'll see you in about a week and a half, I think. It's when I'll drive her up there. Yeah, my wife has an invite, dude. See, that's how you get into her show. You bring the wife and then you sneak in.
That's fine.
We'll get Andrew on there.
No, but Veronica needs to get in there because she just opened a clinic, right, with a couple of friends.
Well, she didn't open it. She just joined the clinic. It's not her clinic. She just joined the clinic, but
Oh, okay.
she's new there for a lot of good reasons. She'd be delighted to be on. So
Yeah.
we'll follow up on that. Thank you, Emilio.
Just word of advice, not talking about the husbands, because both his wife and my wife, they're both psychologists. No.
Actually might be fun. I might have fun with
No.
this.
Yeah, but maybe don't make a podcast out of it. Go have fun with
I get all
it.
into that stuff.
Hey, I'm an open book. What the heck?
Great. I love it.
Awesome. So, Jennifer, before we wrap up, where can people find you? What's the easiest way?
Probably my website, and I'm assuming you guys will type this in there so they know how to spell my last name, but it's just jenniferloehding.com. That's it.
Yeah.
And it has everything's linked to it. The book, podcast, everything is all in there.
Okay. Yeah, we'll put that on Facebook. We'll tag you on it so that you can share it around and whatnot.
We'll put it on LinkedIn too.
Yeah, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Facebook, obviously on all the podcast distribution things and whatnot, but we'll get it out there. Well, awesome. I don't know, Andrew, do you have anything else? Because this has been...
I just want to say thank you. I mean, this was fascinating. We've met a few times, briefly, and I got little snippets and little pieces. But wow, what a fascinating story. And I have asthma, which is nowhere near as severe as what you conquered. And just, I can empathize. It's chronic illness it's a heavy monkey on one's back. So congratulations to you, and thank you for sharing that with us. Yeah, fascinating.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for allowing me to come on here. It's funny when I talk about this because I tell the people that I'm up close to, but I don't. It's one of those things that, it happened and it helped me get where I am today. But, we're survivors. So that's what I say. Humans are great survivors.
Yep. Very cool. Well, thank you all for being here. Success Paradigms. This is Emilio Garcia and my co-host, Mr. Andrew Barker. And thank you again, Jennifer Loehding, for being here. And we'll post this around and have her contact info for you guys. Thanks again for being here.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Night.
Thanks, Emilio. Ciao.